December 13th, 1947. Dear Diary, I'll be gone soon, but I wanted to tell somebody about what's gonna happen. It started when Mom sent me to bed without dinner. I woke up and I was starving, so I looked around for something to eat. The gerbil food was dry, but I didn't mind it.
Hey, hello, I'm Kråkan, also known as Corvus Cornix, and welcome to YACC, yet another Crowcast, where I pick a game, I play for a week, and then I'll talk about it. This week's game is What Remains of Edith Finch, and it's a walking simulator with some puzzle elements. So a little bit of backstory. I picked this game up basically for cheap on PSN, and I looked at it and I was like, this game, I have to play this. This looks interesting. So this game is in memory of Shirley Dallas. And this game revolves around the Finch family, and they're a tragical bunch. There is like they built a house basically, and it got swept off to the sea or something, and then they built a new house. And mostly you play through the story, you pick up books and journals and other kind of notes, and you read through their stories, and they each die a very tragical death. And they're a very strange bunch too. So you start up the game with Edith's daughter on a boat, and there's this crazy organ playing before the introduction, and she opens up her mother's journal that she gave to her basically, and from there on you are Edith Finch herself, and you go to the old house to investigate what actually happened, because there's a lot of strange stuff that evolves during the journey. You walk up this path and you check the mailbox, and depending on which route you take, you can either encounter a deer and a little waterfall. You can just go through the forest and wind up in front of the house. And it's a strange house. It's like one of those mist kind of thing. They have the basic structure of the house, but then it builds upwards like a tree house and stuff. It's really interesting how they just add compartments and crawl waves, and they have like these. You have normal doors and everything, but you have like small crawl spaces, and so you can get inside and out. I think they were mostly done for the children or something, because it's like one of those fun houses almost. And the whole house, I'm getting ahead of myself, but the whole house looks like it's lived in. You go into the kitchen, there are lots of books, and there's it looks like people actually live there. And so you walk up to the house, and you have this key, and you think you're supposed to go into the front door, but it's locked. So the tragic story is that Edith's grandma, she actually got too old and she couldn't keep the house, but she wanted to stay, and Edith's mom kind of got tired of it all, and they just move out. So Edith is there to kind of experience or understand her family better, because there's this whole lineage of people that died a tragical death, and all their journals and notes are left there so you can go through them basically. So anyway, you crawl into the back door through the cat entrance, I guess, and you kind of go through the kitchen area, and you find the first room of the girl Molly, and you read her diary basically, and you find out that she was sent to bed by her mom not to get any food at all. So she says in her diary like she's starving. So you play as her now. You kind of go through her little room. You go up to because you're hungry, you go up to her hamster cage, and you eat the carrot that was made for the hamster, whatever. And then you go into the bathroom and you eat toothpaste, and there's some berries on some Christmas ornaments or something in the window. Excuse me. And then you go out to the main room, and you look out the window. There's like a sparrow or a bird. And then all of a sudden, this is a dream, and she turns into a cat, and she chases the bird and eventually catches it. And then all of a sudden she's like this big owl that hunts for rabbits or hares, I guess, out in the fields. and all of a sudden she's a shark, and she tumbles down a hill down to the water, almost get hit by a car, and then she goes for seals, and all of a sudden she's like this Kråkan kind of monster and eating people. And then this Kråkan creature crawls into the sewers, and it winds up in her bathroom and goes under her bed, and then she wakes up and she thinks that monster is still under her bed. So that's kind of crazy. So then you go back to playing Edith Finch again, and you go through the window out like a catwalk basically, and you wind up in another room of Calvin, and you realize his story. I think Calvin was let me check my notes. I think he was the twin. He had a twin brother also called Sam, or something like that. And this is a tragic one because Calvin died. So you have this is like the Toy Story kind of telling, like one of the twin wants to be an astronaut and the other one just wants to be a cowboy, like Toy Story, as I said. And so Calvin wanted to be an astronaut. He always wanted to fly. So you see him you take control over him. You're just sitting on a swing basically, and you just make momentum, moving your feet forward and backwards. And there's this big cliff by the ocean, and basically you get enough speed, and your mom calls you in, for dinner. And you said, I'll be right back. I'll be there. And then you pull the swing forward and backward, and he jumps. Basically, it goes around the whole kind of branch, and then he flies up to the sea. So you don't really know. He probably fell to his death from the cliffs. And it's really just one of those sad things, because the Finch family later in the game, so there's a spoiler, I guess. Later in the game, you find out that the Finch actually didn't construct the house at first. It's kind of dark, but they build a cemetery first. So they have this animal cemetery, and they have these for the people, I guess. And then you go on, you go to this other room, which is Barbara Finch's room, and she was a child actress. You can read her diary, not a diary in this case. It's actually a comic book. There's a really clever way. So you kind of find out that she was this child actress. So she was famous because of her scream, and when she got old, 16, she kind of lost her voice. Not attractive at all. So she worked at a diner. And she was taken to this convention, and she was by her boyfriend forced to perform this role, and she didn't do very well. And then she kind of went home, and her boyfriend basically tries to scare her, and then you find out the key to the basement is in the musical box. You just wind it up enough, and then the key pops out. So you go down to the basement, and your boyfriend scares you. He's in this refrigerator, and he pops out, and Barbara whacks her with a stick or a broom or whatever, and she kind of gets angry at him, and he leaves. And then some crazy stuff started happening. It's actually a pun on the Halloween thing. There's a murderer that gets into the apartment, and you kind of sneak around him. You push him down the balcony. So this music, that's kind of funny reference. The music that is playing is actually from the Halloween movie, the John Carpenter's theme. And you kind of push the killer off this railing, and he falls down. And you go down and check on him, and of course he's gone. And then the doorbell rings, and you answer the door, but there's no one there. And you turn around, and there's a surprise party. And they're basically a bunch of monsters telling her that she did a good job. And then they kind of, she screams the perfect scream, and the monster kills her. And it's this really weird, you don't really know if that's what killed her or this kind of weird stuff, I guess. And later in the game, there's this tragical story involving a baby and a mom. So there's this little baby, he's just 1 years old, and he's in a bathtub. And her mom is actually bathing him, and the phone calls, and she just leaves the baby there. And that's something I really hate about that. It's you can't leave a little baby, 1 year old, in a bathtub by herself. Because all these kind of phobic kind of thing that I get in my head, like drowning and stuff. But the kid is playing, with his imagination. He plays with a little frog, and the mom kind of leaves and to pick up the phone, and the baby accidentally turns on the water, and the water of course rises and the baby drowns. It's really sad. I mean, living with the guilt of actually indirectly killing your own child, it's like, it must be, it's terrible. And anyway, but it cuts to a happier scene where the kid is actually swimming on like a frog and down the drain. So that's heavy. But anyway, gameplay. It's a lot of walking and interacting and discovering things, reading notes. So use the L1 button to zoom, R1 to interact, and the left stick to move, and the right stick to look up and down. And the graphics, well, it's like it's just realism, I guess. It's an old house with lots of stuff, and it looks lived in. So the graphics kind of enhance that kind of feeling. And there's also this nice scenery. You can, later in the game, you go out to the beach, and there was this party there, and it looks very nice, like this open kind of space. And the music, well, it's not in your face, but it's there, and it gets the job done. It's like it's not even noticeable sometimes. In conclusion, then, I can't really recommend this game, no. There's so much death and sadness, and I don't know, maybe that's the point of it all, like, so you feel something at the end, I don't know. And at the end you figure out, like, this is also a big spoiler, that Edith herself is dead, and she's actually passing on her journal to her son. Really sad, because everybody dies. And it's like, this house, man, and these people, I don't have anything else to say, I guess. So anyway, thanks for watching, and take care.